Just a quick update on Tata, who's shagging a soft toy underneath the chair I got the camcorder on. He's taking more of an interest in that sort of thing now. He's approaching 6 months old. He's got an appointment with the vet already. I don't suppose it'll stop him shagging soft toys, but most people I've asked seem to think it's a good idea to get your dog neutered for various reasons. Not all of which I can see the sense of, but go with the flow, I guess. He's been a lot more hard work than I thought a dog would be. I had no idea how many times you have to actually repeat a piece of training behaviour before the dog actually gets it into his system. And I had no idea how many times after that the dog would hear the command and simply choose not to obey it. They've got a mind of their own. And I've come to the conclusion that the theory about the pack leader is a bit off the mark. You know, that the idea that's common nowadays that the dog needs a pack leader, and if there isn't a pack leader in the house, then the dog will take it upon themselves to become the pack leader. The problem with the pack leader theory is that we don't live in packs. We live in family units of maybe only 2 or 3 people, which doesn't constitute a pack, and the pack exists in the wild in order to hunt down prey, and it works in a sort of automatic manner which doesn't relate to household life. And when you read books that talk about pack theory, they say things like, don't feed your dog before you. You have to eat your meal first and the dog has to wait, because otherwise it will think it's in charge. I can't see the relevance of that. The point about when you feed your dog is to let the dog know that you're in charge of feeding the dog. Not that the dog's got to wait till you've eaten, but that the dog's got to wait until you're ready to feed it. So you can feed it before you eat, as long as you make sure it knows it's got to wait for its food. That's the main thing. And in fact, the idea that you are controlling the dog just doesn't seem to work for me. I see it more as a case of the dog wants to feel it's in charge of its life. And it's exactly the same as all of us. We all want to feel we're in charge of our lives. The question is, does the dog think that it can control the supply of food by leaping up and barking and pawing? Or does the dog think it can control the supply of food by sitting quietly and looking expectant and licking the slaver off its lips? And you can program it into whatever behaviour you want that will make it think it's controlling the supply of food by performing this behaviour. But it still thinks it's in charge.
Better come. Hello.
I thought the idea was with recall that you had to train your dog so that every time you called it, you could be sure it was going to come back to you. Well, that's the ideal, obviously, but then I was beating myself up for not being able to train the little so-and-so to do this, and wondering how many years it was going to take. Well, maybe when he's old and doddery he will, because there won't be anything better to do, but I just feel there has to be a compromise there somewhere. I've got to somehow control the situation so it's not going to get to the point, and this is the scary thing, I have to control this situation so we don't reach a point where he'll be distracted and dash off when it's dangerous and I won't be able to call him back again. This is another thing. He loves to mouth, and there are people who say, you must train your dog to never mouth, never lay his teeth on your skin. Well, I think if he's playing, if he's actually doing this, just sort of opening his mouth and letting it rest gently on my flesh, then at least he's getting the experience of not biting hard, and that's got to be a step in the right direction. Anyway, it's all a bit hit and miss, as you can see, even despite going to puppy class and reading books. Can you see yourself? Isn't he a handsome lad? Yeah. The thing is just to keep at it, I guess, and in a year or two we will be an unbeatable team. look at those teeth. That's the other thing. He got his permanent teeth in the last few weeks, and they just look like false teeth. They're so perfectly white and so huge for his mouth.